Welcome to One Sharp Sword, cutting through to what matters most. I'm your host, Dr. P. Wayne Pernell, the powerful presence mentor and outfluencer. With me today, a special guest, Petra Kolber. She's been a professional dancer. She has been teaching leadership. She does so much. She brings, I call her the confidence master. And in her history, Petra has also been a DJ. She blends all of that into her public speaking. I'm delighted to have you here, Petra. What did I leave out?
Pretty much got it. That's my life in 4 short words. My entire career in 4 short words. It's great
Very
to be
nice.
here. Thank you for having me.
Ah, what a pleasure. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing. What are you up to now? And talk a bit about your journey. We're doing one sharp sword cutting through to what matters most, which means that you've had a journey, especially as you're teaching leadership and confidence, coming through dancing as a professional dancer. You have had to have cut through to a lot of things, and along the way you've cut out a lot of things. So talk a little bit about your journey, what you're doing now, and really what lessons, as we do this together over the next few minutes, what lessons our audience can learn from your journey.
Okay, yeah. Well, Wayne, I'll start with what I'm doing now because as we're doing this interview, the world has changed, right? The
Oh,
world, when you and I booked this interview, is completely different to the world that is today. And we
very true.
still don't know what the world is going to be as we re enter it. It's changed forever. That's what we know. So my work over the past month has not changed. It's just the focus has shifted slightly. So recently I've been talking about the need for confidence and resilience and grit, but now I call those the soft skills that will now be the hard skills of the future. So this past month, part of my work has been just outreach to community, like how can I serve? Asking the
Mhm.
question, what do you need? And what's coming back in one-to-one, my coaching work, and also with companies that I did outreach to that maybe I hadn't spoken to in a year, it really is this idea of how do we show up as leaders in this new world when none of the leadership books that we have read prepared us for this. So I'm doing a lot of work and learning as I go on how to calm people's anxiety, why it's important to work with your mind versus against it, the reptilian brain, as you know, versus our higher logical thinking. So I've been doing a lot more work around that and also building communities that maybe didn't even exist prior to this time in our life, where people that used to think, oh, it'd be nice to have more confidence, it would be nice to have resilience, it would be nice to kind of figure out what grit is like, what is it? I need it now. Is there a science? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. So that's the work I'm doing right now. From this time in our life, Wayne, my work moving forward, I think is going to change dramatically because I always crafted my work, I think, around the idea of who I should be a little bit, even though I speak like, don't do that. And now I'm seeing my big dream of what I want to do next year. I'm trying to recreate my income and how I lead to enable me to have more freedom in my day to day. So that's kind of where I am right now.
That's beautiful, right? So I'm guessing most of our audience wants to know that, like, how do you step in with more confidence? How do you build that resilience? What skills do I need as a leader? And then as one of my messages is the evolution of your values, and your values drive your
Yeah.
personhood, right? And so what you valued 10 years ago is very different than what you value now. What you valued a year ago is different than really what you value now and who you are now. And as you move forward, then who do you need to become? What values do you need to take on to become the person you need to be? You said you wanted to become, right? So talk about some of the steps that you might walk a leader through in terms of confidence, in terms of resilience, and what are you seeing as you're having these one-to-one meetings with leaders out there? What are you seeing? And I think that really helps to normalize it, because in my conversations with leaders, I'm hearing a lot of themes that are coming up, and I'm pretty sure you're hearing the same thing.
Yeah, for me, it's now it's no longer your job description. We're all in this together. To me, this
Yeah,
has leveled the playing field. This has brought the humanity into the workplace. This has brought the humanity, hopefully,
yeah,
in a bigger scale as we move forward. So it's not about the job description, your title. We're all having the same fears. We all have the same worries. We all have the same doubts. And so it's almost encouraging leaders to say it's okay. You don't have the answers, and it's hardwiring the skills and learn the skills of appreciative inquiry, listening with your full heart and head without trying to figure it out or fix it for the person in front of you, because the world we're in right now, it's challenging us all in different ways, and we're all going to respond in different time frames. So what I'm speaking to, I don't know if this is right or wrong, is not even the title, it's the human. Let's deal with the humanity, our true fears, our true anxieties, our true doubts that previously, Wayne Ada said, I talk about false fear and real fear. Hope and fear both
sure.
require a belief in the unknown. And now we really do have these real fears. So how do we balance our mind, our mental capacity? So a lot of our conversations is actually like, you don't have to have the answers. I don't have the answers. Here are strategies that I can invite you to consider that may or may not work for you. And a lot of it is coming back to the coaching skills that many people are aware of. Listening without trying to fix, creating a safe space for your team, creating a space where your team can say, today I'm having a good day, how can I help? And today I'm having a really hard day, can you help me? So it's coming back to that culture of true vulnerability that we've spoken about for so many years, but are we really leading that way? Creating a culture of true openness and being able to say to your team, I don't have the answer, but I am here for you. So again, I'm doing more research now than ever, because there's a lot of, there's questions coming to me like, what do I do if one of my team members have the virus? And this is not questions we had before. So
Right.
for me, this is a place to come to everything from the lens of appreciative inquiry, the lens of possibility, the lens of curiosity. And like you said, aligning with our values and getting really quiet, using this kind of pause, this global pause, to sit with ourselves and go, as a leader or as a worker or as a parent or just as a human being, my life was going this fast forward.
Right.
Now the world has come to a stop. Is that the track I still want to pursue? And of course we have our bills and our mortgages and we have the everyday responsibilities, but for my legacy life, for the life I want to lead moving forward on the bigger scale, once we've recalibrated to our new normal, do I want to make a pivot? Do I want to make a slight micro adjustment? Or do I want to do like a 180 and, actually go, that what I was doing is not what I want to do. Maybe I want to spend more time with my family that I had forgotten how much I loved, Maybe I care about my work more than I even thought about. So I just think this is a really interesting time to allow maybe new areas of our own soul and searching to open up. And don't ignore those whispers that in the past we've been so busy being human doings that we now have the time to sit with ourselves and really listen to what that dream was that maybe we'd been put off, and delaying for so long.
So good, Petra. It's so good. I was taking some notes as you were talking. It's really great. The whole idea of the only thing we're all facing is this thing of uncertainty, right? Does anybody have the answers? And the answer is no. No one has the answers for every other person. I believe that we have the answer for ourselves inside of us, right? That we have the ability to figure it out, but that we don't have to figure it out for anybody else, right? And what you've said is allow space, right? The whole concept for appreciative inquiry for our audience, if you're not familiar with it, is to open questions and hold space for possibility. And that is magical. That is magical. One of the key things, and you didn't call it this, it's something I call it, is it's a priority pivot, that's where we are right now. We're in this place of priority pivots, and you and I are both seeing this, and it's fascinating, isn't it? Where it's like, you know what, I'm finding out that I actually didn't love my job as much as I thought, or I'm finding out that that my home isn't as comfortable as I thought,
Yeah.
or what I want more of is home, or what I want more of is purpose in my position. Awesome. Yeah. What else are you seeing? What else, like, of if there were, top 2 or 3 lessons that you're seeing in working with senior leaders out there that are in this spin, or things you found for yourself in the midst of this spin, um, what would be the top 2 or 3 things that you would say we have to focus on, to cut through, to cut out?
Hmm.
What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to cut out the noise.
Mm,
I mean, I call it like get informed, don't consume, use this time to create because there is so much uncertainty. And, on the news, we have to be educated, obviously. We have to know what's going on in our own hometown and what the new, regulations are. But then what you can learn that in 5 minutes.
sure.
You don't need the news spin cycle because that's what they do. And if it bleeds, it leads. And so our brain, as you know, maybe your audience is aware, our brain is not primed to have this much stress for this long. Our brain is great at adapting to short-term stress, peaks, like when we had to go out and chase for food. We are now in a marathon of stress that our brain was not designed for. So the one thing I would say, all of us, don't care who you are, leader, follower, not sure, whatever, get educated, get up to date, and then turn the news off because there is nothing you can do to help. There's nothing you can do. And all that will do is move your brain into that fight, flight, or freeze. And that's the era of your possibility. When that happens, when that lights up, as we know, we kind of have both fear and hope on the wheel at the same time. Your possibility thinking, your curiosity thinking, your values, your patience all go out of the window. So using this time wisely, because you might not get this, I'm hoping we don't get this type of pause again in our future. So use it wisely. Do you want to come out of this, 2.5, 3 months, however, being just overwhelmed with news, like in complete stress, post-traumatic stress? Or do you want to rise to the occasion? I always say, it's simple but not easy. It's a
Right.
conscious decision to turn off that news, notice where you're getting your information from. For me, it doesn't work if I do it on the television because I tend to leave it on. So for me, I work to get on. I read it in the morning. Okay, nothing's changed that's going to affect my immediate choices, and I get off. So really be mindful of this negativity overload because your brain, it takes stress on as stress, and we're moving less right now. A lot of people don't go to the gym. Your outside time is limited, and sitting is the worst place for our
Right.
health, our happiness, our best future. And then pile that on with the stress of the news and the everyday reality. We are setting ourselves up for failure. So how can we set ourselves up for success even in this time? So first thing I'd say is stop consuming. Nothing wrong in a bit of a Netflix binge. I've been known to do that. But really, with the negativity, really dial down what that can be so you can then dial up the stuff that matters. Use that time to invest not in what has gone, not in the stuff that you can't control, but maybe it's investing more time reigniting your relationships with your family. Maybe
Hmm.
it's reinvesting that time, reigniting your relationship with yourself. Maybe it's spending that time reigniting your relationship with your dreams, reigniting your relationship with your future. So really be mindful because this will come to an end. And we're all going to come out of this. And right now, I feel like a lot of us are at the starting line. And it's how you choose to spend this time. You could either move, you can actually have a fast path trajectory to your best possible future now because you're planting the seeds right now. And a lot of people are just toiling, like worn out soil. Or we look at this new world. How do we want to show up in this new world? What parts of myself do I want to, bring forward? And maybe what issues and not issues, what challenges and issues do we want to leave behind? Because maybe we've seen they're not that important anymore. This is a time to really let go of the small stuff.
Isn't that amazing? This is a time to let go. I love what you said about you can't have hope and fear at the same time. That is something that I don't think people really recognize, right? So this is a chance for our audience to, as you listen to this, as you see this, that it's to do some inventory, right? Where are you? Are you living in the space of now what, and sort of holding your breath through the day, or are you living in the space of now what, questioning what's available,
Yeah.
possibility, opening to possibility, and that does allow a different kind of breathing. Love the idea of just shutting down the noise, stop consuming all
Yeah.
of that.
And can I add something there? It's not this or that. So it's not going to be faith or fear or
Right.
hope or doubt. It's the land of and. It's faith and fear. It's hope and doubts. You're going to, I call it interval training for life. This is where you build your resilience muscle. But what it allows you to do is let that true fear in, the not knowing. Allow that, sit with it, make friends with it, get to see what's underneath that. But don't make decisions for your future in the fear-based moment. Make those long-term decisions in the moments of hope and possibility. So we are all going to be triggered, by a siren going by, or hearing, someone's just got diagnosed with the virus, or a loved, whatever. So again, but it's really riding the waves. And this is where resilience comes into play, the emotional plasticity, the emotional ability to bounce back from the dips. But again, the big thing for me is don't make your future choices, your future decisions in the moments of fear. Sit with it, make friends with it, understand it, but then wait for that dip to come back up again to make really important decisions if you can.
Fabulous. that's that's awesome. Um, wow. Wow. All right. So are there steps? Is there like the first thing that you would say to somebody who's in the midst of, I'm going back to work, I'm going to lead my team, they're going to have questions, I still have questions. What's the first step I'm supposed to do?
Good question. Hmm, what would I say?
Yeah,
I
coach.
would say it would come from a place of coaching, right?
Yeah.
Coach to people's potential, coach to people's possibility. But again, I think it's really this, Brene Brown speaks so well about it in the workplace, vulnerability and authenticity. Don't pretend to know you know the answers, because the scientists don't know the answers.
Right.
And we're probably going to be trying to figure this out for a long, long time. But let your team know that you have their back. I don't have the answers, but I have your back. I will find out the answers if they are out there. But this is a time where I will support you. And again, it's really coming together as a team. This is really where it's not about the individual, because as we come together as a team, whatever size that team might be, there are going to be moments, there's going to be people in that team that are going to I'll be riding those highs of resilience, and you're going to have to allow them to pull the others along for a while. And that's probably going to shift, right? So it's this whole balance of really bringing people together. This is going to be a true test of how good your leadership skills were beforehand. Were we coaching to the best individuals? Were we kind of preferencing and favoring the people that showed up? Now it's really a mesh of the human connectiveness. And that's also going to look different depending on, are we going to be in the same workspace right now? That's going to be probably take a year. If you worked in a physical location, it's not going to look the same for a while. So we don't know. So I think the
True.
first thing I would offer to every leader, just know that no one knows. Don't pretend to know something you don't. But do know deeply that your team is relying on you to create a safe space. This is that talk about safe space at the workplace. This is a safe emotional space where people can bring the land of and, right? Their hopes and their fears, their doubts and their worries, and don't set up a culture, or be very mindful of setting a culture, or like, we got this, we can power through. You have to allow room for true vulnerability and worries to show up, because otherwise, and another thing I'd probably say, notice productivity. For some companies I've worked with, they say, well, it's great, our productivity is on the rise. Yeah, but at what cost?
Right.
because people are that extra hour. Do you really need to be on a Zoom call? Does this mean they're not taking care of their mental health? Because if we keep going at this pace, there's that pebble brick wall moment. So I noticed the pebble moment where that little bit impatient with the team, a little bit lack of patience, or like snapping a little bit. That's our first sign that we're tapping out of our emotional capacity. So again, I think it's also risk versus reward. It's not all about productivity. It's about possibility and the long game, and recalibrating, what's realistic, the goals that the company and the team had pre this. Do we need to like relook at those, take a new humanistic look at that to make sure that we can really take the whole human behind the job into consideration?
I'm loving this. I'm loving this. We're so aligned in the way we think about what a true culture could be, and I seldom use this word should be. Really, that this is a place where we now have to open to the possibility of the ups and downs of the real human in front of us, and being the real human in front of our teams. Huge. It's huge. And as you said, the physical workspace is going to be different. There are groups now redesigning the physical workspaces of major corporations. Bench bench computers, right? So sitting side by side with somebody is now going to require a little more space. You're no longer going to be working across from somebody. Office spaces are getting smaller in order to accommodate a few more offices, if there are even going to be closed offices. More and more people are going to be telecommuting. So communication, clear communication, alignment, vulnerability, all of that, everything you've said is absolutely, it's up for grabs right now. It's like, I see it as we're in such uncertainty that we actually have this opportunity. And I think a lot of people don't maybe grasp the largeness of how much opportunity there is. We have the opportunity to step in and create a culture that we want now, right?
Yeah, and I think too, what's interesting, Wayne, is this moment matters. Who
Mm,
you are in this moment, even if you are terrified as a leader, we need to dig deep and go, how can I work with my own, anxiety? And maybe it means going to therapy for a while, really owning what it is we've been expected to do and asked to do during this time. And like you said, I really, for many years, my own self personally, because I kind of repivoted into my new life, whatever that is, not that long ago. And I always felt like I was playing catch up. And this moment, I feel like we're all at that starting line again. And how you choose to show up in this moment is really elevating quickly how much people trust you. How we show up in this time is really creating deep, unwavering faith and trust if you can show up for others and truly be that servant leader that we give lip service to for so many years. This is where the rubber meets the road, literally. Who you are and what you say you are, this is the moment where people, it's like the emperor that wears no clothes. People
right.
are going to see the true leaders of before, the leaders that maybe had it on their business card, but really did not have the skills that it took to care enough about the people working beside them. So it is to me, it's a very interesting moment in time, and one for all of us to really take stock and go, how am I contributing to the world? How am I serving? And also, like you had mentioned right at the beginning, is what I'm doing now in alignment with my values? Am I living in true alignment with my values? What little piece of integrity that did I maybe move into the gray area? Or what do I wish maybe I could go back and do differently? Let's do it differently. We can do it better. This is a room to come, we have room to come out of it better, not bitter,
Yes.
victorious versus victim. And again, simple, but not easy. It all comes down to mindset and heart set.
Well said. It all comes down to mindset and heart set. I love that. Perfect. Wow. Anything else you'd like to add? I think we've covered quite a bit and given our audience something to think about. A couple of things. what would you like to add? And if people want more out of you, where do they find you?
I think the one thing, Wayne, I'd love people to consider is imagine a world, right? Imagine this new world, and we don't know what that's going to look like. But I would invite you to spend some time getting really quiet,
Mm,
sitting with yourself, noticing what things you have been putting off because you haven't had time to do, noticing those whispers, right? The things that you've been longing to do, but like, oh, who am I to be doing that? That dream's too big, or is it? I mean,
mm,
I now think this is a time for us to get really super clear. What kind of life do you want to live? What kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of human do you want to be? What is it that you really, really deeply want? And why not now use this time and the time moving forward to create that? Many of our limitations, right, come down to our mental state, this belief of worthiness, this belief of um, taking off this idea that your worth is negotiable. We're all put on this planet. The fact that we're here is a miracle, and we need to take this miracle and run with it. And don't ignore these whisperings that might be showing up for you now. In this past month, 6 weeks, what has been tapping you on the shoulder that you've been so busy in the past? It's like, this dream just won't leave me alone. Why not turn and face it? And use this time
mm.
to maybe start taking baby steps to really creating a life that you're going to love for the long game. Because if this hasn't shown us that life is not guaranteed, I don't know what will. So let's use this life well. Let's share our work uh, in a meaningful way. And people need you now more than ever. This is not a time to be the world's best kept secret because you don't have enough confidence. You don't have enough self-esteem. Do the work, figure it out, because the world needs you now more than ever. So that would be my invitation. Don't ignore the whispers. And yeah, that's
I'm
kind of,
sitting here. I'm sitting here, just like applauding inside. Like, yes, everything about what you just said has just rippled through me, has tickled me. It's like absolutely everything. Listen to the whispers and that dream that's tapping you on the shoulder now, right? Now more than ever, the world needs you
yeah.
no matter what, right? So I believe, I've been talking about leaders. I believe that each of us is a leader. So it doesn't matter what your business card says, right? It's you are being watched. Somehow you need to show up at your next best, right? We all are being called to raise each other up, raise ourselves and raise each other up in so doing. There's so much fear, even grocery shopping now. People are in this place of fear and they won't look up. It's like I almost make it a game. It's like I am going to smile at you from behind my mask and you're going to see me, darn it, and it's like now's the time to elevate those around us. And
Yeah.
so good. So good. Yeah. So how do people find out more about you?
Easiest way, Wayne, is just to go to my website, petrakolber.com, petrakolber.com. Pretty much has everything I'm doing on there. And then social media as usual. Petra Kolber is my name on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So, yeah.
So much fun. Petra, thank you so much. This is it's amazing. This has been just so much fun to have you. And just that little bit of extra inspiration, if anybody in our audience heard just that little bit that moved them to the place, it's like, oh, awesome, right? I really thank you for joining me and for being here on One Sharp Sword.
Thank you so much for having me as your guest. I so appreciate it.
All righty. This is One Sharp Sword, cutting through to what matters most. We've been listening to Petra Kolber. I'm Dr. Wayne Pernell.